So, do you feel like you're hitting your head against a brick wall? Are you realizing that there's a pattern in your life that just seems to continue to repeat itself? So, are you feeling frustrated? Is there levels of anger building? This is the experience I have just been through, or I'm just resolving right now in my life. So last year I was working with somebody, collaborating with somebody, and it was a really difficult experience because basically that person was, let's just say, I felt like I was being gaslit during some of that experience, whilst I knew that was not the intention of the person, because I knew the person and I knew their intention wasn't to do that, because I know that deep down they're a really nice person and they're a generous person. But through that experience, that's what was happening. Things were being projected onto me, and I could see that the person was struggling to take responsibility. And all I was asking for, I kind of said to that person at the time, as we got through, it kind of went over quite a few weeks or even months. It was a very, very difficult process. And, we did have a very honest conversation. I just said, let's just sit down, let's talk about this. And I explained how I felt. And they did apologise in the end for what seemed like I was being gaslit. It was all being projected back onto me. And I did think that would resolved what had taken place. Like I say, I approached it in a way whereas I wasn't sort of blaming that person, because I knew it wasn't really how they were meaning to react. And I let that person know that I'm a reasonable person, because I am such a reasonable person. I was like, I am reasonable. All I need is communication. I just need communication. You just need to be upfront with me and we can talk about it. Now, I thought we'd resolve this issue, right? So fast forward. So this was I would say this was between July and September last year, and this is now May, June, and I've had a problem again with it's not it is with something that I collaborated with them. I have a problem again with it. Something's gone down, so I went back to them and said, this has happened. Obviously they know what it is. It's really important to my business. Without it kind of hinders my business. So in my mind, I'm like, they understand the urgency of this. I just sort of said, thanks for getting on it, brilliant. And then nothing's happening. I'm having no communication, so I'm chasing. Days later, I'm getting communication. I'm trying to ring, and there's just this really bad communication going backwards and forwards. I'm not getting the answers. I'm trying to chase this person. They're avoiding me, or they're saying things, and again, they're projecting it back onto me. So I can see the same pattern is repeating, and I'm feeling this anger build up inside the body. So I allow myself to feel the anger, right? Because it's okay to feel angry. We feel what we feel, right? So I let myself feel the emotions, and I do not respond while I'm in that emotion, because I know all that's going to happen is I'm going to project onto him and blame him, and then he's going to get defensive, and we're not going to really have a resolution. I understand how these things work, but I also understand that, asking myself, hold on a minute, this is happening again. I understand how energies work, right? In order for an energy to be able to thrive, well, it needs some other energy to fan its flame. So I realise and I understand that we've got to take 100% responsibility for ourselves, and it can be really difficult to take 100% responsibility for ourselves, because it just feels, because it means looking at our own wounding, right? And it feels easy just to project it. So I ask myself, what is the lesson? What is the lesson in this situation? Because it's happening again, and I want to learn this lesson so I can basically put out the flames and not fan the flames. And I realise I'm working with someone here who's got a wound about responsibility. I can see this. This is the area I work in, and it's very easy for me to see wounding from other people. It's always a little bit more tricky to see it in yourself, because we have these subconscious beliefs. So we have to really move into this observation mode in order to do that. And that's what I do. And I love it when I go through an experience like this in a way, because it allows me to then really reflect on myself and use all my own tools on myself. So I reflect on myself and I ask myself, what is the lesson? So if you are going through right now something that is repeating, know that you are a part of it, right? We might feel like we want to just project it onto the other and say it's all the other person's fault, but that's not truth. The other person will also probably be moving from wounded, but in order for an energy to survive, another energy has to fan its flames. So the first step is, what is my lesson? We can just ask, what is the lesson. You know, we don't want to keep banging our heads against a brick wall. That is exhausting. I work with people, or no, actually that's not true, because people that come to me to work on it are here to dissolve those patterns, right? But I know people in my life that play over these same patterns over and over again, and it is exhausting because they'll never take responsibility for it. They're always projecting it onto another, and I don't do that. I say, okay, this is happening again. I've noticed this for the second time repeated with the same person. It's a different ingredients, right? It's not exactly the same circumstance. It's different ingredients, but it's exactly the same energies that are happening. So I ask myself, step one, what is the lesson? There's something in here that I am contributing towards this. So I ask that and I reflect on myself, and I realise what I said to the person last time. It took me a bit of time to pull him up on the behaviour. Eventually I did pull him up on the behaviour, because I was like, I realised this behaviour was gaslighting. So I pulled him up on the behaviour, and we had a totally honest conversation. He apologised, and I thought we'd work through it, right? And I explained, look, I'm reasonable because I am a reasonable person. I'm a nice person, right? And I'm okay with being nice, because I say, we need more nice people in this world, right? Let's be nice to each other. But I realise in reflecting, okay, I'm being too reasonable. Not only being too reasonable, because I asked myself, how is it making me feel, right? How is it making me feel the way that I'm being communicated with in this interaction that's now been going on for 5 days? And how it makes me feel is, it makes me feel that I'm being disrespected. It makes me feel that my business doesn't matter, that it doesn't have value, that my business is being disrespected, that my livelihood is being disrespected. Therefore, I am being disrespected. So I know, though, in my mind, that in his mind, his intention is, let's disrespect her. I want to disrespect. I know that's not the truth. I know this person. We're actually kind of friends. We're working together on something. So I know that isn't truth, right? I know that's not what they sat there thinking. But I realised from my perspective, okay, because last time I was like, I'm so reasonable and I am nice and I am reasonable. Actually, I don't want to be a burden. I realise I've got a wounding around being a burden. In my mind, I think, well, he already knows how important this is. I don't have to spell that out, although I did actually spell it out in a way. I did say it is important, but I sort of in my mind, I realised that I'm not wanting to be a burden. That's part of my wounding as a childhood. And actually, that is my downfall. I'm being too reasonable. It is for me to show myself that I respect my business, that I value my time and my business, and to make it absolutely clear of what I expect and what I need in these interactions going forward, in this collaboration with my business. You know, I think that maybe part of me hasn't wanted to be that forthcoming because maybe it's a bit of people pleasing. Maybe it's a bit of, I don't think it's people pleasing per se, but maybe it's a little bit of like just not wanting him to feel badly of me or something like that. And I realise that my part in this is to be much more assertive, to be much more clear, and to make it very clear what I expect, because my business is important. My business matters. I matters, and it's for me to make that clear. But however, so we're having a call. I made it very clear that I want a call to talk about this. We have to go through this, and it's not about he said this, she said that. I made that clear as well. It's not about that. It's about us understanding it's about us laying down some foundations and some agreements on how we need to interact going forward, how we move forward, what I expect when I am paying for this, because I'm paying for this service as well, what I expect back. So it's me being more assertive, me being less reasonable, but I can do this in a way that respects the person, right? I'm not going to do it in a way that is disrespectful to the person. I'm just going to do it in a really vulnerable, open and honest way, but be very clear and direct with what I need so I can see what my lessons are. So the reason why I'm bringing this forward is because so many people go through this and they repeat the same patterns over and over again. You know, if you are experiencing a pattern that repeats, perhaps it's you're always attracting men that are unemotionally available. I have been there, and I realised that I didn't value myself. I didn't love myself enough to allow myself to be in those situations without realising that I deserve someone that's going to show up for me. I deserve someone that is emotionally available. I deserve someone that is willing to do the work to meet me at my level. And I started to learn that and love myself. And I no longer attract those kinds of experience, or if I did attract it, I would instantly know it and I would not participate in those energies. And so we have to look at ourselves honestly. We have to take 100% responsibility for our part in it, because we do play a part in every single interaction that we are involved in. We play a part in it. Our energy somewhere play a part in it. It might be asking us to be more assertive. It might be asking us to put up some boundaries, to set some boundaries and be really clear. So obviously for me, it's setting some boundaries here, being very clear as well. And it's up to us to do that, to step into our power. It might be asking us to absolutely take ourselves out of these interactions and not be involved in it anymore. But it's up to us to do that. And we take 100% responsibility for our part in it. Well, we change our lives, we empower ourselves, we stop ourselves going over and over the same cycle. So first thing is, recognize anything you're experiencing now that you don't like. Ask yourself the question, what is my part in this? How am I fanning that flame? Then ask yourself the question, how can I change? Do I need to set boundaries? Do I need to be more clear? Do I need to have a really open and vulnerable conversation, which can be difficult to do? We can fear doing that. But often these experiences are asking us to grow and expand. In order for us to do that, to heal things from our past. So just asking that question, we might not get the answer straight away. We might not see straight away what it is that we are doing, saying, feeling, attracting, that we are doing that is attracting that experience, that is keeping it in our energetic field. But if we start to ask the question, we start to observe ourselves, the answer is going to come to you. You're going to start to realize what it is, and you can start to make those adjustments, and you can start to shift your life and create the life that you desire, and stop wasting energy, and don't be one of those people, right, that can spend 10, 20, 30, 40 years repeating the same patterns. It's up to us, guys.